My sil moved in with her child and freeloaded off my wife and me for months, but then she accused my wife of trying to poison her allergic kid with peanut butter cookies and called the cops on her, so I dug deeper and found a shocking voicemail from Mill on our house phone. Sil faced her fair share of karma when CPS took her son, and now she's blaming my wife and me for breaking up her family? I'm not the type to usually post family drama online, but I'm at my wit's end. I need a place to let it all out. Everything started spiraling about 6 months ago when my sister-in-law, Alice, 38 female, and her son, Peter, 4 male, moved in with my wife, Delilah, 34 female, and me, 34 male. Alice is Delilah's oldest sister, and they have always had a strained relationship. Alice had always been a little too dramatic, and she tends to demand a lot without ever giving back. On the other hand, Delilah is the peacemaker of the family. She hates conflict and would bend over backwards to keep everyone happy, even when people do not really deserve it. So, when Alice showed up at our house without warning, it did not take much for her to convince Delilah to let her stay. Alice said she was going through a rough patch and needed a temporary place to crash. Apparently, she had recently broken up with her boyfriend, lost her job, and did not have anywhere else to go. My wife, who has always been the one to help her family, invited Alice to stay for a couple of weeks until she got things back on track. I did not feel great about it, knowing how Alice was, but I agreed because I knew it was important to Delilah. As soon as Alice moved in, it became clear that her idea of a temporary stay was very different from ours. Within days, she was acting like our house was hers. She did not offer to contribute anything, whether it was financially, helping with chores, or even pitching in with groceries. Our bills nearly doubled as we now had an extra adult and a young child in the house. But Alice did not seem to care. She left dishes piled up in the sink, never helped with cleaning, and treated our home like her personal storage unit. Every time I brought it up to Delilah, she would just say, "Let us give her a little more time. She's going through a lot." So I kept quiet for Delilah's sake, even though it felt like Alice was taking advantage of our kindness. The thing that added a layer of stress was Peter's peanut allergy. Alice had informed us of this the moment she arrived, so Delilah and I made sure to keep anything peanut-related far away from the house. We read every label, and I made it a point to ask friends and family who visited to be mindful of the allergy as well. We really put in the effort to ensure our home was safe for Peter. But Alice was still super anxious about it. She would say things like, "You guys just don't get how serious this is," or "I can't believe I have to rely on people who don't know what they're doing to keep my son safe." It was draining to constantly feel like we were not doing enough, even though we were trying hard to make her feel at ease. 3 months into this temporary stay, things escalated from annoying to downright unbearable. Delilah had whipped up a batch of almond flour cookies for a work event, making sure they were gluten-free for her colleagues with dietary restrictions. But as soon as Alice spotted the cookies cooling on the counter, she completely lost it. She started yelling, accusing Delilah of using peanut butter and claiming we were putting Peter's life at risk. Delilah tried to explain that she used almond flour, not peanuts, but Alice was too riled up to hear her out. She even threatened to call the cops if we did not take this seriously, which left us both in shock. To keep the peace, Delilah offered to toss the cookies, but that did not satisfy Alice at all. The next day, true to her word, Alice actually called the cops. When the officers arrived, they took a look at the cookies and quickly saw there was no threat. They checked the ingredients and realized they were almond-based, not peanut-based, and basically told Alice she was overreacting before leaving. I was beyond furious. This was an eye-opener for both Delilah and me. We realized Alice had no respect for our hospitality and was willing to make our lives difficult if things did not go her way. I told Delilah it was time for Alice to leave. I did not want to keep enabling her entitled behavior. After Alice called the cops on us over the cookies, Delilah could not hold back anymore. She was hurt, exhausted, and completely fed up. She told Alice that calling the police on her own family was an awful thing to do, especially after we had gone out of our way to help her and Peter. Delilah reminded Alice that we were the only ones who opened our doors to her, that without us, she would have had nowhere to go and she would have been on the streets. We had taken her in even when it meant doubling our grocery bills, putting up with extra mess, and rearranging our lives to make our home safe for Peter's allergy. Delilah told Alice that she had never once shown any gratitude or appreciation, and that she acted as if all we had done was owed to her instead of a big favor from us. Delilah said it was incredibly unfair to accuse us of being careless with Peter's allergies when we had done everything she asked plus more. She made it clear to Alice that she was hurt by her actions and that it was time for her to realize just how ungrateful and disrespectful she had been the entire time. Not long after that incident, I stumbled upon a missed call on our house phone, which we rarely use. There was a voicemail from Delilah's mother, Clara, 62 female, who lives out of state. "Clara and I have always gotten along okay, but she has always favored Alice and tends to see her through rose-colored glasses. I played the message out of curiosity, and what I heard absolutely shocked me. Clara was basically coaching Alice on how to make things harder for us. She said things like, "Don't let them push you around. You have rights, and make sure they don't try to kick you out without giving you proper notice." She even suggested that Alice might be able to secure some benefits if she stayed long enough. When I played the voicemail for Delilah, she was heartbroken. This was her own mother encouraging her sister to take advantage of us. For me, this was the last straw. I told Delilah that we needed to confront Alice and tell her she had to leave. Delilah was reluctant and felt guilty, but she knew that enough was enough. We sat down with Alice and explained that it was time for her to find her own place. She immediately flew into a rage, accusing us of being inhospitable and of abandoning her and Peter. She called us selfish and went on about how we were supposed to be family, but we stood our ground and gave her 2 weeks to move out. That is when things took a truly ugly turn. Alice called Clara, who then got involved, telling Delilah that we were mistreating Alice and putting Peter's life at risk. It was emotionally exhausting. But I knew we had to stick to our decision. We wanted to handle this as fairly and calmly as possible. But Alice continued to escalate things. She reached out to other family members, painting us as the villains who were throwing her and her child out onto the street. Just when we thought things could not get any worse, Child Protective Services, CPS, showed up at our door. Apparently, Alice had claimed our home was unsafe for Peter, suggesting we were putting him in danger. The caseworker came in, took a quick look around, and saw that our place was clean and posed no threat to Peter. She figured out pretty fast that this was a ridiculous accusation, but the whole situation was super embarrassing and really stressful. Once they were gone, I told Alice it was time for her to pack her bags and leave right away. A week after Alice finally moved out, we received a call from CPS informing Delilah that Peter had been taken out of Alice's custody due to unstable living conditions. We were not told the full details, but it seemed clear that Alice's erratic behavior and lack of stability had caught up with her. Delilah was devastated as she genuinely loves her nephew, but we agreed that Alice needed to face the consequences of her actions. Now Alice is convinced that we snitched on her to CPS despite us having nothing to do with it. She has been telling everyone in the family that we are responsible for her losing custody of Peter. She's accusing us of breaking up her family and betraying her trust. Somehow, she has managed to turn herself into the victim yet again despite everything she put us through. Alice recently contacted us, pleading for help to win Peter back. It's like she's pretending nothing went down and claims we are obligated to assist her because we are family. Delilah is really conflicted. She cares about Peter and hates seeing him in this situation, but she also realizes that Alice is the one who caused all this. I feel for Peter, but I doubt Alice has gained any insight from what happened. She really needs to own up to her mistakes instead of relying on others to fix her problems. So Ida for kicking Alice out and refusing to help her get her son back after everything she has put us through? Update 1. Hey. So I'm back with an update on whatever's happening with my sister-in-law, Alice, and her son, Peter. I honestly did not expect things to get any worse. But here we are. Things have really gone off the rails, and I need to update you all on what has been happening. A few days ago, we got a call from Child Protective Services, CPS. They told us that Peter would be sent to live with us because his father, Alice's ex, has a serious drinking problem, and CPS did not think it was safe for Peter to stay with him. This was not the first time they had had to step in and make the decision to remove Peter for his own safety. They also told us that Alice needed to get some help, and until things were figured out, Peter would stay with us. And if that was not possible, he would go into foster care. Delilah and I were in complete shock, but we both agreed that we had to do what was best for Peter. We love him like he's our own. And while this whole thing is incredibly stressful, we want him to feel safe and secure. CPS made it very clear that we were not supposed to let Alice near him while they were investigating Letter. Then Clara called. I could not believe what I was hearing when she started yelling at me. She accused us of kidnapping Peter. Yes, you read that right. Kidnapping. She was demanding that we return him to Alice, and she was furious when I told her that CPS had made the decision for Peter to stay with us. I tried to explain everything to Clara, telling her that CPS had their own reasons for this and that we were just following their orders. I told her that we were not doing anything wrong, that we were doing what was best for Peter, and that Alice was not supposed to be around him right now. But Clara did not care about any of that. She did not even listen to me. She just kept going on and on about how we had no right to keep Peter from his mother, how we were stealing him from her, and how we were wrong for doing this. She then dropped the bombshell. She said she would call 911 and accuse us of kidnapping. I was in shock. She was actually considering bringing the police into this even though we were just following what CPS told us to do. I told her she could go ahead and call the cops if she felt like it, but I was not budging. I made it clear that we were doing the right thing and that we were not going to stop. At that point, I just blocked her. I had reached my limit. I was done trying to explain myself to someone who was so clearly in denial about what was going on. I was not going to let her make this any worse for us, and I was not going to let her drag Peter into more of her drama. The very next day, a CPS worker came to our house to follow up on the situation. She checked in on us and made sure we were still following all the rules. She reassured us that we were doing everything right and that Alice was not in contact with them. They are still investigating Peter's father, but for now, Peter is staying with us. The worker said that we were doing the best thing for Peter's well-being, and that made us feel a little better knowing that we were on the right side of things. But things did not end there. Alice started calling and texting, demanding that we return Peter to her. She kept saying that Peter needs his mom and tried to make Delilah feel guilty. She even said things like, "You're not being a good aunt, and you're taking my son away from me." I have not responded to any of her messages because, honestly, I do not even know what to say to her anymore. Delilah feels torn because she loves Peter and does not want to see him separated from his mom, but she also knows that Alice is not in a place to care for him right now. It is a really hard situation for both of us, but we know that Peter's safety comes first. Clara's been relentless. She has been calling us non-stop, leaving furious messages, and even roping in other family members. She's still pushing us to give Peter back to Alice, but we're standing our ground. We have followed all of CPS's guidelines, and we will not let Clara or Alice decide what is best for Peter. I know it is tough on Delilah because this is her family, but I keep reminding her that we are doing the right thing. Alice has had a lot of chances to prove that she can be a stable mom, but she has not. And now, Peter's the one who's paying the price for it. We're just trying to give him the love and security he needs right now without the chaos and drama that Alice brings. So right now, we're just focused on making sure Peter feels safe and loved. We're doing our best to be there for him and keep things as calm as possible. I do not know how long this will last or what will happen next, but we are doing everything we can to make sure Peter is okay. I will update you again if anything changes. Thanks for all your support so far. It means the world to us. Update 2. Hi, everyone. I'm here with another update. Things have been hectic recently, and there are a lot of feelings about what is going on with Alice, Peter, and the family. However, I believe there might be some hope in between all the chaos. After all the challenges we faced, Alice's claims, CPS getting involved, Clara's threats, I was not sure if things would ever settle down, but now it seems like there is finally some light ahead. A few days ago, Alice reached out to us, and this time, it was different. Unlike the last few calls, which were filled with demands, accusations, and anger, this call caught us off guard. Alice was crying, not yelling, not blaming, but genuinely crying. She sounded desperate and sad in a way I had not heard before. She did not try to put the blame on us, nor did she make excuses for what had happened. Instead, she just kept saying she wanted to talk to Peter just for a minute to hear his voice. Her voice was shaky, and I could tell it was not easy for her to ask us this. For a moment, I thought about how hard this all must be for her, and I felt so bad for her. Delilah was standing next to me as I took the call, and I could see her struggling with it too. She loves her nephew deeply, and despite all the hurtful things Alice has put us through, Delilah still cares about her sister. It was hard for both of us to say no, but we knew we could not go against CPS's orders. So I gently told Alice that for now, we were not allowed to let her speak to Peter. CPS had been very clear that until their investigation was over and Alice had taken some real steps to improve her situation, any contact was off the table. As much as we wanted to ease her pain, we knew Peter's safety had to come first. There was a pause on the line for a bit, and I prepared myself for Alice to blow up or start pointing fingers again. But to my surprise, that did not happen. Instead, she said okay, and it felt like she finally understood just how serious things had gotten. It hit her that she could not just demand things to go back to how they were or pretend she had not played a part in all of this. She began to cry again, and for the first time, I felt like she was really starting to see the full weight of what had happened. Not wanting to leave Alice in complete despair, I tried to give her some hope and encouragement. I told her that if she could show CPS that she was making real changes getting her life together, creating a stable environment, and making it clear that she could put Peter's well-being first, there might be a chance for her to regain custody. I did not sugarcoat it or promise her anything definite, but I let her know that Peter would always need his mother, and if she could prove she was ready, maybe things could work out. Surprisingly, she seemed to understand this. She did not argue, did not make excuses, and did not blame us. Instead, she agreed with me, saying she was willing to do whatever it would take, even if it meant making some hard changes. She admitted that she needed help and that for the first time, she was ready to face that. This was the first time I had ever heard Alice sound truly humble and self-aware. It was a bittersweet moment. On one hand, I felt a small sense of hope, but on the other, I knew this was only the beginning of a very long journey for her. It is not going to be easy. There's no guarantee that CPS will let her have Peter back anytime soon. But maybe, just maybe, this is the wake-up call Alice needs to finally turn things around. A few days after the call, CPS came by for another follow-up visit. The caseworker told us that we are doing well in taking care of Peter. She told us we should expect more updates in the coming weeks as they work on both Alice's and Peter's father's cases. It's all still up in the air, but knowing that we're providing a safe and loving home for Peter right now makes this whole ordeal worth it. As for Clara, well, she has not made things easy. She continues to leave messages accusing us of turning Peter against his mother and breaking up the family, and she has even tried to rally some other relatives to her side. Delilah and I have learned to ignore the calls. At the end of the day, we know that we are doing the right thing. And as long as Peter's well-being is our priority, nothing Clara or anyone else says will change our decision. It is tough, especially for Delilah, but we are sticking together, and we are committed to doing what is best for Peter. I don't know what the future holds, and I do not know if Alice will follow through on her promise to change, but I genuinely hope she does. I want nothing more than for Peter to have a happy, stable life. And if that means he can eventually go back to a healthy and stable mom, we will support it. For now, though, we are focused on giving Peter the best care we can and taking it one day at a time. Also, a lot of you have been wondering how Peter's doing. He is doing okay overall, but he does miss his mom. Sometimes he asks when she's coming back, and that is always a hard question. We tell him that his mom is taking some time to feel better and that he is staying with us until then. We are trying to make things feel as normal and cozy as we can for him. We started some routines to help him feel at home, like reading him a story before bed, having breakfast together every morning. Peter has always been very open with us, so he really is not having any issues opening up to us. There are times he seems a little sad about Alice not being around, and that is one thing we can't change even if we want to. But then overall, he's doing all right. He knows that he's safe, loved, and that we are here for him as long as he needs. Even though he's still adjusting, we can see he's starting to relax a little more. It is good to see him feeling more comfortable, and we're just grateful we can be here to help him through this update 3. Hello, everyone. I'm here with an update, and I'm happy to say that things are finally looking up. It has been about 6 months since my last post, and while the process has been difficult to deal with, we are making significant progress. The situation with Alice, Peter, and our family has been a roller coaster, but it seems like we are finally turning a corner. Since our last update, Alice has made some big changes in her life. She has recently started working as a junior chef at a well-regarded hotel. Alice has always been a talented cook. She actually has a degree in hotel management, and her cooking skills are well known in our family. But a few years ago, she decided that cooking for others was beneath her and quit the industry altogether. That decision was a turning point, and things went downhill for her soon after. Now it seems like she's ready to let go of that pride, and she's genuinely putting in the work to rebuild her life. She is earning a decent income, and she seems genuinely proud of what she's doing. We can see that getting back to work has given her a sense of purpose and confidence that she has been missing for a long time. For Delilah Amy, seeing her commit to this positive change is a huge relief. Child Protective Services has been monitoring how she's doing and has recently allowed her to start seeing Peter once a week with either Delilah or myself present. It has been great to see Peter reconnect with his mother in a safe, supervised environment in addition to the weekly visits. Alice is allowed to call him twice a week, and the same policy applies here as well. Either Delilah or I have to be present for those calls. Peter lights up whenever she visits or calls. It is clear he has missed his mom and is so happy to have this connection with her again. Alice also makes an effort to make the visits meaningful. She always brings him small gifts such as a new book, a toy, or even a treat she baked herself. These small gestures mean a lot to Peter, and we can see how happy and excited he is whenever they are together. Peter's mood has noticeably improved since he started seeing Alice regularly. He's more relaxed, and he seems to feel more settled knowing that his mom is in his life in a positive way. It's a huge relief for all of us to see him so happy, and we are grateful to be able to provide him with a stable home while his mom works on getting her life back in order. It is clear that Peter is starting to feel more comfortable, and that gives us all a sense of peace. Alice's ex, unfortunately, has not shown any signs of improvement. He is still struggling with the same issues, and CPS has made it clear that he is not a safe option for Peter. It is disappointing, but at least with Alice, we are seeing genuine progress. She's putting in the hard work, and we are hopeful that if she keeps it up, she might even regain full custody of Peter one day. Both Delilah and I want that for her and Peter. It would mean so much to him to live with his mom again and to know that he has a stable, loving family to grow up with. We know that Alice's journey is not going to be easy, and there are no guarantees. But Delilah and I have noticed a real shift in her. She seems genuinely humbled by everything that has happened. And for the first time, we believe that she is committed to making things right. She's not just saying the right words. She's showing up, working hard, and proving that she is serious about creating a better life for herself and for Peter. It is a bittersweet feeling. We are so happy to see her taking these steps, but we also know there is still a long way to go. However, the fact that she's willing to face these challenges and put in the effort is a huge step forward. Then there is Clara. She just will not back down. She is relentless with her accusations and harassment. Even though Alice is making progress and CPS has a solid plan in place, Clara still believes we are in the wrong for keeping Peter. She leaves furious voicemails, sends a ton of texts, and has even tried to get other family members on her side. We have blocked her on several platforms, but she always finds a way to reach us and keeps insisting we are keeping Peter away from his mother. We have explained everything to her countless times, but it never sinks in. Alice has even tried to talk to Clara. She tried to make her understand that she needs time to get her life together before she can have Peter back. But Clara just will not budge. At this point, we are doing our best to ignore her. It is draining, but we have accepted that we cannot change her perspective. In all of this, we are focusing on Peter's happiness and well-being. Having him here has brought our family closer together, and we're doing everything we can to provide him with a loving, stable environment. As for Alice, we hope she will keep up the good work. She is showing a commitment to changing her life, which is amazing to see. If she can keep going and show CPS that she can handle it, we believe she has a good chance of regaining Peter's custody. We would love nothing more than to see them together in a secure and stable environment. Thank you for all of your encouragement and support.